This is Green Blitz with your host, Joe Mauceri.
Well, the Jets get their first win of the season on a day they say goodbye to a legend. We're talking about center Nick Mangold and his passing at the age of 41 years old, far too young, taken from all of us. He was a larger-than-life presence. We're going to talk about his impact on the Jets. We're going to talk about Green's first win, and joining us to help break it all down is Ryan Dunleavy, NFL reporter for the New York Post. Ryan, let's start with the way that news came down just before the game. I know Aaron Glenn talked to the team about Mangold in the locker room. What did he say, and what was the feeling around the team for this game here?
Yeah, called him a Jet through and through, and I think that's kind of the way to sum it up. But I just think, Joe, when I think of this stuff, I just think of how, like, the Jets had their great win yesterday, and it's such a reminder. And I think the Post back page did such a good job. Like, the games were secondary, and we forget sometimes. And we hear about fans talking trash to players. We forget the human element of this. And when I think of a 41-year-old, you and I are about the same age, the same age as Nick. I think of a 41-year-old with 4 kids who now those kids have to grow up without their dad. It breaks my heart. And Glenn called him a Jet through and through. That's exactly what he was. He was still living right by the practice facility, still involved in New Jersey high school football. Just the kind of guy you want to be around.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about it, you heard Joe Tippmann come out, who started his career as a center, now playing guard for the Jets, talking about the impact that Mangold had on him when he first welcomed him to the team. He loved being a Jet. I had the pleasure of working with him a couple times on some Jets pregame show, and he was just that guy who always brought a levity to the situation and was so kind and welcomed you in. And, when you're that big, you're around those guys, they can be intimidating, but he made you just feel so comfortable. He was disarming right away, and he was a regular guy. I mean, when he got into the Jets Ring of Honor, he's cracking a beer and toasting the fans. That's the kind of guy Nick Mangold was. And you think about it, it was just a couple weeks ago that he put out that plea for an organ donor, and it was so fast. But up until that point, you didn't even know anything was going on. And I feel like that's an offensive lineman. I feel like that's Nick Mangold. Like, what are we doing for the team? I'll worry about me last. And I think it kind of just speaks to the situation he must have been in to go out there and make that appeal.
When you think about it, the fact that he was diagnosed in 2006, basically played his whole NFL career without saying a peep, and a great career, and two AFC championship games, Pro Bowls, Ring of Honor, the whole time he had this, this health scare looming over him, and knowing that it was coming down the road. And I think he said in some of his final words that he thought he had more time, and I think we all thought Nick Mangold had more time.
Go out there, live for today. Rex Ryan, obviously, on ESPN was emotional talking about his final game coaching the Jets where Mangold was injured, and he said he wanted to go out there and play for the coach. Just so selfless, gone far too young. And then you go out there, right, and you said you look at all the signs. Is somebody watching over from above? Breece Hall running for 7.4 yards per carry, Mangold number 74 there. And then throwing that touchdown to Mason Taylor, whose father, Jason Taylor, was a teammate of Mangold there. So the connection's all over the place. But whether or not he helped those 2-point conversions go in for the Jets, or change some play calls for Aaron Glenn, or the offensive line blocked a little bit better against the Cincinnati Bengals. It was a win for the Jets, and hopefully, if you believe in that afterlife, he was smiling down somewhere, getting to see his team win. But let's go, as you said, from that tragic story to the game here. And obviously, a big day for Aaron Glenn as he gets his first win with the team. A big day for Justin Fields. You look at the storylines that we're heading into this week, and it just seems so improbable. The fact that, before we even get into the game, I want to talk about, obviously, the big thing we were talking about last week were the comments from Woody Johnson. You were there criticizing Justin Fields. And then the Tyrod Taylor injury and Fields ends up starting, the back and forth with Glenn and the media leading up to that. When you look at the way all of that played out, I mean, what's your takeaway after the Jets go out and win the game with Fields as their starting quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought that it was really an impressive win. It was exactly opposite of what they've looked like pretty much every game since week one. It was more of the week one where all of a sudden Justin Fields looks like he has some dual threat. They can complete some passes, contrary to what Woody Johnson said and what we all saw. Like, Woody's getting hammered for this. Like, he didn't say anything anybody wasn't thinking. So whether he motivated them, I'm sure that's probably how he feels. I just thought Justin Fields responded in the way you would want a professional respond. I didn't like the gamesmanship that Aaron Glenn played with the quarterback decision all week. There's no way that he didn't know Tyrod Taylor was banged up. But I thought the team rallied around whatever it would be, around Fields under criticism, whether it was the Mangold news, whether it was Glenn being under fire, whatever it was, the Jets showed you some heart and guts, and that's really what most of football is at this point. So I was impressed with the comeback victory. Crazy stat, Joe, 135 straight teams had lost trailing by 15 points or more in the fourth quarter entering this season. We've already seen 4 teams come back from 15-point deficits.
Oh, wow.
This season. One was last week, the Broncos against the Giants, and one was this week, the Jets against the Bengals.
Wow. And, obviously the way the game has changed with the passing game, 2-point conversions, right? Analytics playing a role in this. You expect to see some of those comebacks. I say it's like with the 3-point ball in basketball, like a 20-point lead doesn't mean what it used to based on the type of play that exists today. And it's the same thing with leads in football, the way they air it out. So when you look at the response from Fields, you said it was a professional performance by him, but he got extremely vulnerable after the game, talking about what he went through this week. Listen to what Justin Fields said post-game after the crazy whirlwind week and then the win.
I'm going to get pretty vulnerable right here, but this week I kind of, I found myself in my closet crying on the ground, laying down, not because of the hardships, not because of the troubles. I felt like, I was built to handle that and I was put in place to handle this situation. But in that moment when I was talking to my best friend, how hard it was and just, not wavering faith-wise, I just had gotten a text from my sister and my stepmom, and it was just an encouraging text on, just keep going and keep spreading the faith, and they just sent me a link on social media, and I tell you guys all the time that I'm not on social media, so I didn't see it. So that was just it was just a sign from God for me to keep going, and that I'm in the right place.
I don't know when he found out that he was going to be the starting quarterback, and how that timeline matches up with him on the floor of his closet crying there. But you think about everything that happened to lead to this moment, and I mean, we're talking about divine intervention a little bit here with Mangold's passing, and he's talking about getting this. I mean, look, if that, I think that works in people, right? Whether or not you believe in that afterlife, and this is not where I thought we would be going when we started the show here, Ryan. But whether or not you believe in it personally, I believe that if a person has that belief and that gives them the ability to see themselves performing in a way that's going to be beneficial to them, I think there's power in belief and power in seeing that, and maybe hearing that he's in the right spot was what he needed to hear here. But when you hear a quarterback say that they are on the floor of their closet crying, because he says he wasn't questioning what was on the field, but clearly he's questioning being here, right? What do you think about the fact that your starting quarterback is in that position? And then comes out and performs the way he does?
So I have a couple thoughts on this, Joe, which is, one, it's very telling how far sports have come from a mental health standpoint, that a professional athlete, let alone a quarterback, leader, tough guy, can say something like that. And, I don't know that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that somebody would have been that open about it. I think that's shows how far, and there's probably a long way still to go, but how far sports have come in terms of mental health. I think that's very important. That he was able to admit that his teammates would support him in that. And I think that it was probably a moment that his teammates saw and said, you know what, this is a guy we can get behind. This is how much he cares. I think is probably the response from his teammates, instead of, wait, our quarterback was crying. Is he tough enough? All that old school macho stuff that might have been the reaction years ago. I think guys today, the players I know in the NFL, without talking to anybody specifically about this situation, but just similar ones in the past, would respond to that as like, this is passion. This is a guy who cares. This is a guy we want to rally around.
And they certainly did. The offensive line obviously helping out, the Breece Hall helping out, the play calling, and the defense. I thought this was going to be a game where we say the Jets offense, it's that type of season where the Jets offense does enough, and then the defense doesn't, and then the defense does enough, and then the offense doesn't. But they made the plays down the stretch when they needed to. So we're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to hear from Aaron Glenn about getting win number 1 on the season, and also some pretty ballsy play calls from Tanner Engstrom and the reaction from his running back, who finally had himself a day, much to the relief of fantasy football owners. Stay with us. Gang Green Blitz is coming right back.
Welcome back to Gang Green Blitz.
Well, we're talking about the Jets getting their first win of the season after an 0-7 start. And it's not just the first win for the Jets, it's the first win in the head coaching career of Aaron Glenn. With us to talk about the big win for Gang Green is NFL reporter for the New York Post, Ryan Dunleavy. Ryan, it took 8 weeks for Aaron Glenn to get win number 1, but he finally got there. And after the game, I thought he was a little bit more subdued than he would have been. Take a listen to his comments after the win.
I told our guys at halftime, these are the games that I really can tell the mental and physical toughness of our team and the grit that we've been talking about that we have to play with to win these games. And throughout the season, you guys have been hearing me say we have to learn how, before you can learn how to consistently win, you have to learn how not to lose. And there was a number of things that we did today that didn't put us in a position to lose this game, but put us in a position to win this game. Penalties, no turnovers. I mean, obviously we didn't get a takeaway, but man, our guys were fighting their ass off to try to get it. And this is a game of players making plays, especially in crucial times. And we had a number of guys that made plays at crucial times. So now it's our time to consistently do that.
So I think about him dancing down the sideline against Tampa Bay in a game that they eventually lost, and then this. And obviously the passing of Nick Mangold put a different tone on the day. Do you think that's solely the reason that we saw a little bit more of a subdued response here from Glenn in this situation?
No, I think it's a couple things. I think one, Mangold, the whole organization had a somber feel. Two, it's 0-7. I mean, like Aaron Glenn said today, like it was great to get the first win, great to see the smiles on the faces, but still not where we want to be. You have to put in perspective. Like, yeah, 1 win's great. It's better if it comes in week 3 than week 7. So, or week 8. So, I think there's still a big picture to it, and I just think that overall, it wasn't they didn't exactly play. They gave up 38 points, Joe. So it's not like it was, dominating. I feel like the Jets win a lot of these games. They don't win a lot of games, but the games they do win are these improbable second half comebacks. They need to, I think back to the Cleveland game. I think Joe Flacco was on the Jets side of that one. So they need to figure out how to play 4 quarters of good football and not these miracle comebacks. But at this point, you take a win however you can get them.
All right, but he did say that this team did a lot to go out and win the game, not trying to prevent themselves from losing it. And where we have seen Glenn in weeks past, whether it was the debacle in London against Denver, where he doesn't know what he's doing there at halftime, or other situations, just not going for it on fourth downs because they were turnover prone, turnover averse. You look at this situation, and they were going for it on fourth down early in the game. They go for the 2-point conversions here early in the game. And while that's an analytics play, Glenn has an old school feel to him. Just because the analytics say that doesn't mean every coach is going to follow the analytics when you're down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Or the 2-point conversion before that when they're chasing points early. What did you think of the way he coached this game and the aggression you saw from him as opposed to the previous games this season?
Yeah, I mean, look, he was under fire after Friday, after kind of misleading everybody on the quarterback situation too. So I think there was an aggression to him. I think there is a natural aggression to him. There is a natural us against the world. So I thought he was aggressive. I thought he realized this team needed a win, especially going into a bye week. You don't want to, malaise hanging over the team. Now they get to at least exhale for a while. So I think there was definitely an aggressiveness missing. They had the field goal drive right before the half, 1:15. They didn't sit on the ball or whatever. You mentioned a couple of the other ones, the 2-point conversion. There was an aggressiveness that was missing. Look, the most aggressive of all is having your running back throw a pass with 1:54 left that he actually never should have thrown. It was covered. That pass from Breece Hall might have been better than most of the ones we saw from Justin Fields in 6 weeks. So, there was certainly a level of aggressive. The Jets were, to sum it up, Joe, the Jets were a desperate team, a hungry team, and they played like it.
All right, let's hear from Breece Hall on that throw and his reaction when offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrom called it in the first place.
I was like, Tanner got to have some balls to call this one. So I kind of went to, the coaches this weekend, not complaining, but I told him, I was like, if Garrett not playing, I need the ball at least 20, 25 times. So, I've always told him, I hate losing, but if we lose, I want it to be on me. I want to go out swinging. So, we pride ourselves on running the ball. We ran the ball really efficient, really well today. Isaiah played a really good game. I did okay, and then O-line played great, protected Justin really well, and we were able to just be really efficient on offense.
I am so happy for Breece Hall. Could you just feel the weight that was off his shoulders from the previous weeks? The guy had over 100 touches this season, had no touchdowns, and he goes out, he gets his first 2 scores of the season, throws for another at 133 yards on the ground. I mean, how good did it have to feel for him to finally free 20? As he would say on social media there.
Yeah, no, I think absolutely. I mean, I think he's taken a lot of it. We've talked about this. He feels the time crunch of his career. He's taken a lot of heat from Jets fans for not being maybe as productive as some of the as they thought he would be when he first came into the league. And no, you could definitely feel the weight lifted. And I love what he did there, where he said he went to the coaches and said, I want the ball 20, 25 times a game. This is a guy without a contract for next year, Joe. So he could be in, business mode, take care of myself. I'm on an 0-7 team. He could be trying to force his way out, force a trade. And no, every carry is miles on your body. It's a chance to be injured in this brutal game. And he wanted the ball 25 times. He recognized Garrett Wilson's not out. He looks around. He's not stupid. He recognizes there's not a lot of playmakers on this team. So he wants the ball on him. And he's had some bad moments, right? He's had some fumbles and stuff where a loss is on him. This win was on him. So that counterbalanced it.
It's funny because we've been talking about this throughout the season, about the identity of the Jets. They're supposed to be a ground and pound team. And you've been saying it. They need to get out to a lead so that they can go out there and ground and pound. But they didn't get out to a lead in this game. No. And they still managed to stick with the system. So is it about, in yours, I mean, look, we know Cincinnati's defense plays a huge role in this. They do not have a good defense. They could not win with Joe Burrow under center. It's another Joe Flacco. The offense is still putting up points, and the defense still can't get the stops when they need them. But when you look at that there, is it just a mindset for the Jets of, you got to stick with your game plan. You got to stick with your identity because eventually you're going to break through, even though you might be trailing early?
Well, I mean, it helped that Fields threw that beautiful touchdown pass to Tyler Johnson.
Yep.
He did throw for 244 yards. My point is, when you fall behind, you can't just run and throw for 32 yards or 64 yards or whatever Fields has been throwing for. They were able to get back into running the ball because they were 21 to 32 for 244 yards. That's like a real NFL quarterback's line. That's not what Justin Fields had been putting up. When you're able to keep them honest, then you can keep running the ball. And we got to mention, we were mentioning Breece Hall. I thought one of the biggest plays of the game was there was a 4th and 1 completion late in the game. It might have been the last drive, actually. And Fields threw a pass over the middle, a crosser to a tight end, and Isaiah Davis picked up a blitz. Play would have never happened if he didn't do that. So that, from a second-year player who hasn't played a lot, that was a really good play by Isaiah Davis that allowed the Jets to complete a pass. And it really, goes down as QB to tight end, but running back was huge on that play.
Yeah. There was also the comment, after the game, Woody Johnson was in the locker room, giving the game ball, I believe, to Aaron Glenn here for his first win. There were comments about, go ahead.
Wasn't it Christopher Johnson?
Oh, was it Chris Johnson?
I think it was okay. Chris Johnson.
Interesting.
Yes, it is interesting that Woody wasn't. If it is interesting that Woody wouldn't have been in the locker room after what he said. Yes, I think that was interesting. I think it was Christopher.
Okay, and then there was the comment about outside noise, right? That he's the owner and everything, but that's just outside noise still. How do they go to move forward from here, this Jets team? Because I think back to Major League, right, where it was all about going against the owner and doing that. Can that be a rallying cry for this Jets team moving forward the rest of the season?
I mean, I guess it could be. They're not good, so you can have all.
Were they good in Major League? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. That guy was stealing tons of base. I mean, I guess if they find somebody throwing 100 miles an hour on the, at a bar somewhere, I guess they could. Yeah, I guess they could get good, but yeah, no, I don't necessarily think that they're gonna suddenly reel off and wins because they have an all against the owner mentality. And I don't even know that. Again, I think what Woody Johnson said was actually true. So maybe you could say he shouldn't have said it or should have said it privately, but I mean, it's what everybody was thinking. I do think it's unusual that he wasn't in the locker room. I do see it was Chris Johnson who presented Aaron Glenn with the game ball. So maybe Woody just wanted to, cool his heels, right off that. But I don't think you're looking at a Jets versus the owner scenario here. So many of these guys are so young. They don't even know. Like Justin Fields said, he has only met Woody Johnson once or something like that. And you don't think Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner feel anti-Woody Johnson, right? They're cashing his $30 million or whatever. So they're certainly not against him. So I don't think you're looking at a situation like that.
All right. The Jets may not rattle off a lot of wins in a row, but I promise you one thing. They won't lose next week because they're on the bye. We will talk to you then. The Jets get their first win. All Jets fans rejoice. Nick Mangold smiling down on them. For Ryan Dunleavy, I'm Joe Mauceri. Thanks for watching this edition of the Green Blitz. We'll talk to you next week, everyone.